And welcome on in to Destination 831. How are you? I'm Casey, and this is Conversations with Casey, along with Kevin Armstead. We're so happy to have you join us and very excited to talk to our guest, local legend, just a great guy, and so excited to see Lee Durley. Lee, you look great. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm so fine. I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, Casey.
Just seeing that big smile, man, warms my heart, Mr. Durley. It's been a long time since I've had a chance to see you banging on those drums, and just wanted to check in with you to see how things are going and kind of figure out where we're going to go from once we're able to restart here. Uh, how you doing physically, Lee? Everything all right with you?
Everything is fine. You know, a couple of years ago, I had a little bout with the cancer, but now I'm happy to say I'm cancer free, and I'm feeling fine. Had one of the vaccines and got through that okay. So I'm doing just fine. Couldn't be
Okay.
better.
Oh, what was that experience like for you getting that vaccine, Lee?
Well, it was I of all places, I had the vaccine at Victory Temple Church, and they were so efficient over there. It was very community involved. A lot of the church members were volunteering, and it was done so efficiently. And the shot itself was. I have never had a shot that I didn't feel. They were so efficient there that I was so pleased with it. So I'm happy to say that I'm looking forward to the second shot.
That's great, man. Well, you look great. I'll tell you. So you could be a walking testimonial for the positive effects of the vaccine, at least as far as the way you look, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, he
So
looks amazing.
it sure
And,
does. Now, now in terms of the future, do you have anything lined up now that Monterey County's starting to reopen up? We're able to get to see live music again. Be interested to find out what's on the playlist for Lee Durley and his friends.
well, well, things are starting to loosen up, and I was out last night in downtown Monterey, a place on Alvarado Street called Medici's. Now, last week I was working with Bill Spencer there, and that's happening every Thursday. That's starting to open up. A great night last night with Janice Pearl and Robert Papachica. And Bruce Foreman was there, and it's quite a few of the musicians are starting to resurface. And I got some communication from Chibo, the place that Scotty Wright and I worked for 6 or 7 years, and they're starting to loosen up and discuss live music once again. So Monterey is coming back to life, and I'm happy to see that happening.
Oh, I'll tell you, you just brought back some great memories for me there, Lee. When you mentioned Tuesday night down there at Seabo's, you and Scotty Wright. That's like a farmer's market tradition for many of us in the area. That sure would be nice. Have a chance to see you take that stage once again.
Well, as soon as the guidelines will allow, they're ready to implement the music and get that back on the program. Not only there, but several of the other venues are discussing live music once again. So I'm optimistic, and I think things are going to, in the very near future, things are going to be getting much better.
Knowing you over the years as I have, I know that you spent a lot of time entertaining seniors. Certainly has been a challenge this past year. Have you still been able to get out to some of those homes and entertain the folks, Lee?
Yes, we are. Even all through the pandemic, where there were, at one point we were doing probably about a dozen a week of these hour shows at different assisted living facilities, and then when the pandemic hit, it was brought down to maybe one or two a week. But we were able to perform outside, and the patients were inside. It's some of the most gratifying work I've done since I've since I've been performing, and I'm happy to say that that's loosening up as well. They're starting to relax some of the guidelines, and we'll be going back inside some of these facilities in the very near future.
You mentioned how gratifying it was. Explain that to me. What made such an impact on you during such a illustrious career that you've had?
Well, I tell you, to perform for people in now we do a lot of work in what's called memory care, people with different levels of Alzheimer's and dementia and so forth, and some of these people are totally unresponsive all week long. And when we get there for these shows, we see the music. It's not so much what we do; it's what the music does. We do the music that they can relate to, that they grew up with, and it reanimates these people. It revitalizes them. They come to life, and there's no pretense about what their response is. If you see a foot moving or a head bobbing, that's an honest response. It's not protocol, and just a little toe movement is like a standing ovation. you know, because it's all so very honest, and that's why it's so gratifying to me.
That's just amazing. How long have you been doing that, performing at the assisted living facilities?
Well, I started with you may remember the name Ree Brunel.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing that, and I just started volunteering with her, just going along on some of her jobs, and then I she and I started doing them together, and unfortunately she passed away, and then I hooked up with my partner Ray Paul. We call ourselves Brotherly Love, and we've been doing that for about 10 years now, and we've worked all from Scotts Valley, Santa Cruz, Carmel Valley, a lot in Salinas, and of course Monterey, and it's something that I hope to do until I can't do anything else.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can see you doing that as well. Let's go back to when you first started to get interested in music, Lee. What was it that was the attraction? What did you find yourself gravitating towards musically?
Well, I came out of University of Colorado and went straight to Vegas. I auditioned in Vegas, and I worked in Vegas for maybe 3, 4 years, and then went on the road. And those road trips brought me to Monterey exactly 50 years ago in
Wow.
1971. So this is my 50th anniversary here in Monterey. And I was working with a chain called Tia Maria's. It's now called, I think, El Torito's
Mm-hmm.
down on Cannery Row. And I fell in love with Monterey after working at Tia Maria's. I went to the Hyatt House and then the Ramada Inn, the Lodge at Pebble Beach, and Sly McFly's, Highlands Inn, Embassy Suites. All of the venues here, I've had the pleasure and the honor of working at, and also Cypress Inn, and of course Chibo, and wow, it's been, as I think about it, I wear myself out just thinking about it. But it's been a wonderful ride. It's been a wonderful ride, and it's been through the generosity of the music community here. This is kind of a music hub, being the home of the jazz festival, and I was with the blues festival, the Monterey Bay Blues Festival, for 25 years until they until we went under about 3, 4 years ago. And I also was fortunate enough to be on the new Monterey International Blues Festival board, and we're in discussion right now, trying to resume the new blues shows for maybe not this year, but possibly for next year.
Love that.
Yeah, that was some great work that you folks did getting in there, rescuing that legendary blues festival. I know you were a big part of that, and certainly. So we don't know yet if it's going to be able to happen this year at the fairgrounds or not. Correct?
Well, it's doubtful that it will be this year.
Okay.
We are in discussion, and the entertainers are lined up and ready to go. But we're waiting for we want to make sure everything is safe. That's we want to make sure there are no risk involved, and so it might take we might have to wait for the next year. But we are also discussing maybe a virtual blues show, and many of the entertainers that were scheduled to be on are on board with that as well. So blues is in the air. We're going to make it happen one way or the other.
Well, that's for
Love
sure,
that idea.
and thank goodness for that. That's definitely something that we love in this area. What's the attraction for you personally to the blues, Lee?
Well, I tell you, blues is like it's something that everyone relates to, even at the jazz festival. One of the more popular days is the Saturday, the blues day, And I think the blues has a tendency to relate to most people. And it's an all year round effort to put those shows together. And payday for us on the board, even with the original Blues Festival, as well as the more recent Blues Festival board, is, is when the show is going on and you look out and you see an ocean of people, of fans, undulating, people from every walk of life, every ethnicity, and you see all these people. That's payday. That's payday for us to see that happening. I mean, the money hasn't been printed that would compensate for that kind of gratification.
That's pretty cool, man. That's got to be a neat feeling.
Yeah.
No question about it. So, and that, well, let's get back to the performing. I love the way that you set it up. How do you describe your sound and the different instruments that you play when you're doing your performance, Lee?
Well, I've kind of gone through a transition. I started out playing Hammond B3 organ, and I did that carried that around for about 40 years. And finally went to the smaller keyboards. And then finally, there's so many fine, super fine keyboard players here that I had the pleasure of working with. So I just kind of gravitated away from playing keyboards and played a little percussion. But my forte was mostly vocalist. And I had the pleasure of, when working in Vegas, I had the pleasure of meeting Brooke Benton and Lou Rawls. And these were,
Oh my God.
oh yeah, these were friends of mine. And I'll tell you a quick story about Lou Rawls. I had the pleasure of working at the Fremont Hotel where he was headlining, and I was on the totem pole of entertainers when I was working like 3 o'clock in the morning. But I got to meet Lou Rawls and his band, and we had a great time. And then when I was on the Blues Festival board, this is something like 20 years later. I had the pleasure of calling Lou Rawls and inviting him to come and be on our blues show.
Nice.
And something about Lou Rawls, he says, I think I remember, this is like a 20-year span that we had seen each other. And he says, I remember you. You're that little band out of Boulder, Colorado, that little trio.
Wow.
I was just blown away that he had that kind of recollection. But it wasn't only me. He had that kind of recollection about everyone. Everyone he met, he remembered. And Lou Rawls came and he put on an incredible show. In fact, he came was with us twice before the shows ended. So that was and Brooke Benton. I was just maybe 21, 20 years old when Brooke Benton kind of took me under his wing and in Vegas. And he says, always, you're always dressed like you're always on parade when you're an entertainer. And so consequently, I have always followed that ideal, that concept of being uh, your appearance is half the battle. You know, he says you sound better when you look good. So I've always aspired to and been thankful for Brooke Benton because he was such an influence in my early years.
You'll never find a guy who dresses like Lee Durley. That's for sure, man. That's right. You are one sharp cat.
That was also Ree Brunel's. I have to attribute that to Ree Brunel because I was working with Joe Indents at the time at Highlands Inn, and she started coming in and she'd sing with us. She'd sit in and sing, but every time she'd come in, she would bring a tie or a jacket. And over the years, I had collected well over 500 ties.
Oh,
For 100 jackets. And so I had to wear these things. And
wow.
and I felt compelled to do it. And it just became almost my trademark to be every time I showed up, I was in a tie and coat. And she did the same thing it wasn't just me. The minister of her church, he got ties every Sunday and jackets. The guy that I worked with, Joe Indents, he had never worn a tie in his life. And he got to the point where every gig he had a tie on. So she influenced us and she dressed us. Ree Brunel, we miss her.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. That is I know I'm off to the side, guys, but that is amazing. I love Brooke Benton. My moms and pops love Brooke Benton. I still listen to Brooke Benton. So I had no idea that somebody that I know Brooke Benton took you under his wing. So we definitely got to have a conversation about that because I am so curious right now. Now I'm gonna go back to the background, let Casey finish, but I'm like super excited at this point.
He's like a big fan, man. He's all
I
fired up
am.
there. Yeah.
My
All
my
right.
history, man. I'm a Jersey boy, man. I'm out here by myself, only child. Mom and pops are gone, brother. And to hear like these old songs, they bring back memories as Lee talks about Alzheimer's and dementia is what my dad had also. So I got a chance to go through that. But here's the wonderful thing that nobody knows but Lee. And I want to see how good he is.
Oh,
So I brought my dad before he passed to the what was it, the Embassy Suites at the jazz reunion, because I always go and I try to record Lee when I can. There's nothing to do with that. I come in because I love him and we do our thing. My dad came with me in a wheelchair. Lee was gracious enough to take his time to come over and speak to my dad. There was another young lady singing that passed away. I can't remember who that was. She gave my dad the biggest hug. But the thing was, when she gave him that hug, you know where his head was at? He is 90 something years old with dementia. That's the only smile. That was the last smile that I saw. And I'm telling this story because nobody knows it. He was super excited. He was in the background, clapping his hands and everything while we was hanging out. One of the best experiences and best time that I had with my dad in his last days. So thank you for that, Lee, and a couple of other things you've done for me, but we're not going to talk about that. But super appreciative. So thanks for joining and thanks for letting me share that story there.
Well, yeah, we'll talk more about that. That's great. And again, working with the patients, it's something that I don't have to do. It's something that I get to do. I sometimes think I derive more than they do because I can't tell you how many times my friend and I, Ray Paul, after our shows, we sit out in the car and just cry in their happy tears because we get to see literal literally miracles. People who
Transformations. Wow.
I call them miracles because it's such a transformation that they go through, and it's all about music. The music brings back the memory.
making the music. That's our guest, Lee Durley, Magic Man around the Monterey Bay area. Getting ready as things reopen to get out there and start performing once again. And Lee, what are some of what have you been practicing? Have you been staying sharp? What have you been doing during this past shelter in place year to keep yourself in the game?
Well, for a while, when I unfortunately I lost my wife last year, but for the past 35 years, we have been we have been collaborators as far as writing music. And although I miss her so much during the pandemic, I felt that she was with me because I had several commissions to do original songs, custom songs. And so that I put a lot of time into that. And every day I do something music related. It's either composing or just going over songs, and sometimes I have my little setup right here, and I just put my headset on, and just sing along, sing the song, just to keep in shape, and also try and remember. I guess over the decades, I can't even tell you how many different songs are in my that we've gone over, and try to remember all those lyrics.
Right.
So it does me good just to put on the tracks and go through it to refresh my mind and keep those lyrics in my head.
Yeah, that's certainly going to keep you young and keep that brain active. Any particular go-to songs or lyrics that Lee Durley loves to pull out, those power ballads or whatever it is you love to hear?
Well, that's like asking me who's my favorite kid.
Well, we all know who that is, Lee. Come on. No, I'm teasing.
I love all of the music,
Yeah.
and we have over the years. It started out as gospel. My dad was a minister, and in his church, we had no instrumental music, so everybody had to sing. And in my family, if you didn't sing, you couldn't eat. So everybody learned to sing at a very early age, and music has been a part of my life uh, from day one. And are we still on? I got a different something on the screen here.
I think
Are
we're
we
still
there?
on. Kevin's
Oh,
having some fun, I think, in the studio. I'm not sure exactly what he's doing, but I
oh,
believe we're still there. We go. Now we're back to normal.
okay.
Yeah, no need for any concern there.
Yeah,
All this is high tech gizmos.
and another thing that it has become tradition around the Monterey area that I'm proud of and honored to be a part of are the jams, the last Sunday jam sessions, which started back in the late, let's see, 88, 89, I think. It started out at the Ramada Inn, and it turned into a tradition every last Sunday of the month. Some of the wonderful musicians from around the area get together, and we have a jam session. And it has, for the last 7, 8 years, it's been at the Embassy Suites. And there's also some talk about resuming that as soon as it's CDC possible.
Boy, those days it just seem like they're so close. We can almost reach out and touch them. I can't wait for him to there it is right
I
there.
love that.
Good grab right there, man. I can't wait for that stuff to happen, and just so excited about just having a chance to get out among people and seeing the great musicians
Yeah,
that we have in this area.
last night, as I was saying, I went down to the Medici on Alvarado Street, and it was so good to see so many of the. I mean, it was a rainy night,
Yeah.
but they did open up the indoors, and there were people inside and out, and
Wow.
it was so good to see people again, and just to interact with so many wonderful friends and musicians. Bruce Forman, he sat in and played last night. Chuck Brewer, wonderful singer, and Miranda Pearl. Of course,
Yeah.
Janice Pearl was featured along with Robert Papachica, and wonderful music, and like I say, wonderful friends. And the owner, Jeremy of Medici, he's reaching out. He's going the extra mile to accommodate the music community. So keep that in mind. Every Thursday evening, right down on Alvarado Street in downtown Monterey.
It certainly is gratifying when we have somebody who owns a business who can make a difference, certainly supporting it, getting out there and making things happen. And, because we keep losing places around the Monterey Bay area. So the fact that this Medici's is now opening up and becoming an attraction is certainly going to benefit a lot of people. That's just wonderful, man. I felt so bad for all my musician friends who were just reduced to having to sit in their studios or right in their rooms and try to just perform for the camera. Can you try to describe the difference, Mr. Durley, between doing what we're doing now and then being out in front of live people?
Well, when you're performing, I think I speak for most of the performers. A lot of your energy and a lot of what you do comes from the people. It's that interaction. You see the people's response. You can even in some of the instances when we're playing the dinner houses, people are conversating. They're having their conversations and they're eating and doing different things. But you can see that foot moving.
Mm-hmm.
You see that foot padding along, and that's an honest response, and that's what we get from it. That live performing, there's nothing like it. You can film and you can be in the studio and make records, and that's fun and it's all gratifying. But for me, live performing and getting that feedback, that response from the audience is what makes it worthwhile.
No, I know you might have some different. Well, I'm hoping that you can give me an answer on this. What's a couple of the crowd favorites? The ones when you just say, "Oh, it's a tough crowd. Let's play this one and get them on our side." That type of thing. Is there a couple of go-tos that you have, Lee, that you can just they're going to work like magic?
Well, there over the years, I think songs that I have done. I always get requests for Route 66.
Hmm.
And then there's another blues song that Lou Rawls used to do, and it's called Muddy Water.
Yeah.
Drink muddy water, sleep in a hollow log.
Wow.
And it's a blues song, and I get requests for that all the time. And it's an up tempo thing that gets the feet patting and the dances on the floor. But I love some of the ballads too. I mean, like I say, it's very difficult to choose a favorite song. It depends on the mood and the venue and who's listening.
Mhm.
But I love the blues. You know, if I had my preference, I'd be singing blues all day.
That's your go-to. That's good. Well, you do it so well. That's wonderful. So, do you have anything lined up? Is there going to be a place, anything set yet for Lee Durley and some of his friends to get together and make some magic on stage again?
Well, I will be doing Medici again. I'm not sure of the date, but
Okay.
it's got Janice Pearl, who's a wonderful singer who was there last night. She is orchestrating all of the different entertainers to come to perform at Medici, and every week she has a different act. And I'm honored that she has put me into the cycle, and I will be putting it out there as soon as I know the next date.
I love it. I had a good time with you guys the other day. I know I came in hot and fast, but I did a really nice video for Lee. I don't know if he's seen it yet. I'm quite sure he has.
I did, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a quickie, but we're gonna start hitting the streets big time, as you know. So we're gonna be everywhere at once because it's time to rejuvenize, get back into the community and do what we do, and that's all about supporting. And if you know me, you know that's one of the things that I love to do. And a lot of people don't know me, which is good. When I can sneak in under the radar and do my little thing with my little bit of stuff. But I love you guys, and I really appreciate the music because I'm a music guy, and I really appreciate all of that. So, again, like thank you so much for showing up and coming. I really appreciate it. Next week, I don't even know if I told Casey yet. We're gonna have another guest next week, Casey. Unknown what day. I guess if you don't mind, it's all right for me to say who that guest is gonna be too. And that's gonna be we should be lucky enough to have Stephen Vagnini on the next one.
Hopefully, talking about the West End celebration.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You know me. I'm backgrounding but slow rolling. But Lee knows me too. So if we push the right buttons and I can still stay out of the way and nobody knows it's me, we probably can get some good things going underline. Just do the push and just stand back and watch it go is my thing. So I'm excited.
I want to say, Kevin, that you and Dee have done some amazing production work. And you worked with the Monterey International Blues Festival with us.
Thank you so much for that.
Oh, we thank you. And you have really taken us up a notch. The effort that you and Dee put together, we really want to thank you, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, we've appreciated spending some time with you, Lee Durley.
Loved it.
Thrill. You look great. Can't wait to see you again, bringing the music and the magic to the masses once again. And I forgot to ask, I have this written down. How are the good feet treating you?
That's funny.
I guess I'll never live that down.
You never will, man. And that's not a bad thing.
I certainly don't mind it. I mean,
I was going to say.
For years, people would stop me. You're the good feet man.
Exactly.
Identity. I just became the good feet man. But
well, I saw not too long ago somebody posted a picture of Mr. Lee Durley as a high jumper.
I saw that.
Oh man, it must have been good feet that got him up and over that bar.
Well, I never associated the good feet with the high jumping. That was what I did in college. I was a high jumper. Yeah. I was the 8th person, and this is not bragging because it's nothing to be proud of these days. But I was the 8th person to jump 7 feet.
Whoa!
Nowadays they start competition at 6'10".
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and back in those days, it wasn't quite as safe landing as it is nowadays.
Right? We landed in sawdust.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was before the Fallsbury flop came along.
Right. The flop came over. That was a game changer.
Yeah, that was a game changer for sure.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, it's just been, you are a game changer in our area, and I'm so delighted we had a chance to chat with you, Lee, and just can't wait to see you again. All the great things you do in the community, the magic that you've created for folks. It's indeed been an honor to have a chance to have a conversation with you,
And
Lee. Thank you.
Casey, you do. It's a pleasure to talk with you, and we really appreciate you doing this and keeping music topical. And I can't thank you enough.
Just did. Thank you, sir. Kevin, we'll join you next time. Thanks so much for putting this together. This is Conversations with Coach Casey right here at Destination 831. Everyone stay safe. We'll see you again real soon.
guys, hold where you're at. We're going to have a sidebar. I'm going to close off this broadcast as we speak, so stand by.
Standing by.